Hey there guys, I'm Will and welcome to FP1. And now imagine my surprise when I wake up on my birthday to find that my favourite driver, Danny Ric, has signed with McLaren for 2021, and this all but confirms that Carlos Sainz will be the one stepping in for Sebastian Vettel in the Scuderia. Now this is brilliant news for both drivers. Obviously Carlos Sainz finally gets that go with a top team in Ferrari, and it's a very good top team as well. Now yes, they haven't won the championship in 13 odd years, but I feel like times are changing. That 2021 season, 2022 season even, when the new regs come in, could be a big one for Ferrari. You just never know. Daniel Ricciardo, he's made another good move as well. I feel like he was falling out of love with Renault, especially towards the end of 2019, and you could kind of see it coming into this year. We know he was kind of looking elsewhere. Now it seems pretty obvious that there won't be any top team seats available, so McLaren is really the best place on the grid where he could be. Bear in mind that team is getting Mercedes power units from 2021, and that is an incredibly exciting partnership that has done wonders in the past. So, yeah, I think this is a really good move for Daniel Ricciardo. In fact, I almost think he's done better than Carlos Sainz has, and just give me a moment to explain before you dislike the video and bugger off. So, obviously, Sainz moving to Ferrari, it's great, and it gives him that opportunity, but the big problem there is the role that Ferrari want him to fill. Now, going through Ferrari's history and ignoring, I guess, 2019, which is kind of that anomaly, Ferrari have always gone with a driver that is miles above the rest, and then a backup second driver. It's a very clear number one, number two position, and we kind of expected that to be the case with Leclerc and Vettel last year. Obviously, then Leclerc went above and beyond and absolutely wiped the floor with Vettel, which has created the situation that we're in now. But before that, you had Vettel and Kimi, where Vettel was obviously the number one, Kimi the number two. You had Alonso and Massa, I guess, for the next long-term pairing at Ferrari before that. Again, Alonso number one, Massa number two. Go further back even, Barrichello and Schumacher. I think that's probably the biggest example of Schumacher being that number one driver and, of course, Barrichello being the number two there. So the problem is Ferrari will want a driver that can back up Leclerc. They've put their money behind Leclerc in the future, and we know they've signed him on for 2021. We don't know how long Sainz's contract's going to be yet. At a guess, it's going to be 1 year, because the Ferrari have still got this junior pool that they want to bring out of. I mean, look, that's what they did with Leclerc, and look how well that's gone. You've got people like Callum Ilott, Robert Schwartzman, and obviously Mick Schumacher as well waiting in the rings. Antonio Giovinazzi's was in Formula 1 already. Given the fact he didn't get the call up this time, I don't think he's going to have another chance with the Scuderia. To be honest, I mentioned this in my video when we were talking about Vettel leaving just a couple of days ago. I just don't think Gio has the aptitude and the ability to really do well on the top team. Even as a second driver role, I don't think he'd be good enough to kind of fill in that gap. He'd be a Gasly, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. But I'm going on the tangent here, really. What I'm trying to get at is Sainz is kind of being drafted in to fill that second driver role, and it just worries me a little bit that unless he can do what Leclerc did last year and come out the floor and wipe Leclerc, which is good of a driver as Sainz is, I just don't know if that's gonna happen. I feel like he could be just going to put in that position where the strategy doesn't favour him, and it's going to be very difficult for him to get even a win or a podium even, you know? Look at Kimi, he got one win in that second tenure at Ferrari from 2014 all the way up to 2019. 5 years and one win, and that's because really he was second driver to Alonso and then Vettel, and he just wasn't really ever in the position to be in a chance for winning the race. It's a shame really, but it's the way Ferrari operate, and you can't blame them. It's worked in the past. Go back to the early 2000s, Schumacher and Barrichello, that pairing was incredible. Obviously, Schumacher winning 5 championships in a row, 2000 and 2004. Barrichello picking up the odd win here and there. But, you know, the way they ran that team was really, really efficient. It's why they got all those championships. Now, of course, I could be proven wrong here, but I just do hope that Sainz gets a chance to shine. He's not just immediately thrown in that number 2 seat. I fear that's going to be the case. I honestly hope that he can pick up a couple of wins in the early part of the season. Maybe even take the fight to Leclerc. If he can do that, then we've got the incredibly tasty rivalry at Ferrari. Let's go back then to the McLaren news. Now, Daniel Ricciardo, I think this is a really, really good move for him. As I said earlier, I think that Mercedes power unit in the back of the McLaren is a really tasty prospect. And, you know, obviously, McLaren got rid of Mercedes at the end of 2014 and moved to Honda because they didn't believe that you could win as a customer team. Now, at that point, the customer teams did not get the same engine upgrades that the constructors got. They would get them, but it would be a few races later, which means if Mercedes say, upgrade the car at Monaco, McLaren wouldn't get the upgrades for maybe 3-4 races later. And that means those 3-4 races, despite them having the same engine in the back of that car, Mercedes are always going to be faster and there's nothing McLaren can do about it. Now, obviously, in 2016 or 2017, around that sort of time, the rules were changed so that if the constructor decides to upgrade their engine, then they've got to upgrade their entire fleet. So all the customer teams will receive upgrades at the same time as the main supplier, which is really good. It makes the sport a lot more fair, I think, and it kind of makes that argument that McLaren initially had to get rid of Mercedes a little bit void. So now really is the perfect time to go back. We obviously saw them back with Renault, which 2018 wasn't great, let's be honest, but 2019 was a lot better. And given that the Renault isn't the strongest engine on the grid, having a Mercedes powering at the back of that car is very, very tasty indeed. So if I had to really sum this up then, I just think that Ricciardo might have made the better move here. I do think, and obviously Ricciardo and Lando, that's going to be an incredible pairing. I haven't touched on that yet. On track and off track, that's going to be really exciting. It gives Lando quite a good base. So we're really going to see where Lando is. We don't really know how good Carlos is yet. We know he's very, very consistent, but we haven't really seen him up against a top tier driver. We're going to see that with Carlos in the Ferrari with Leclerc, and we'll see how good he really is. And then I think again we're going to see how good Lando is now he's paired against Ricciardo, and it's going to be really exciting to see that. And I guess the last thing to talk about then is that Renault seat. Obviously, Ricciardo moving to McLaren has opened up a seat at the Enstone team, and there's several drivers that I could see really going in there. Let's start then by looking at that junior pool. So you've got Christian Lundgaard in F2, as well as Guan Yu Zhou. I think Guan Yu Zhou is probably the best bet, given that he's already had a year in F2 already, but if Lundgaard has a stellar F2 season, you just never know. Also, I mean, they're not affiliated anymore, but Jack Aitken was their test driver last year. He's now over at Williams, but you know what? Again, if Jack has another good F2 season, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get the call up as well. Now, of course, Sebastian Vettel could also go there, but there was a rumour, I think yesterday, that he'd declined an offer from McLaren. So if he wasn't really willing to go to McLaren, I cannot see him going to Renault. I think the only place really for Sebastian, and it is a long shot now, is if they decide to get rid of Bottas and Sebastian fits in with Hamilton at Mercedes. And as much as I would love to see that, I think every single person watching the sport would love to see a 4-time world champion and a 6 or maybe 7-time world champion by the time 2021 comes around in the same machinery. I would be, yeah, I'd love that. I just don't think it will happen. I don't think Mercedes will take the risk and upset Hamilton in that team since he's in such a good place at the moment. So yeah, personally I think Vettel is out now, which is a shame as I've really kind of grown to like him. I wasn't a massive fan of him back in the Red Bull days, but since he's gone to Ferrari, I think he's humbled a bit more, and I have really enjoyed what he's brought to the sport. So it is a shame to probably see him go. You never know, he might end up at Renault. But I guess the other name to chuck in with that Renault seat is Fernando Alonso. So obviously Fernando says he knows what he's doing for next year, but I don't believe that. I think Vettel's decision just a few days after might have made him reevaluate his options. I think either he's going in IndyCar or he's going to end up in that Renault seat. That's just my personal opinion. Obviously he's been with Renault before, and obviously won 2 championships with them in 2005, 2006. This would effectively be his 3rd stint with the team, because he was there until the end of 2006, went to McLaren for a year, then came back to Renault for 2009 before setting off to Ferrari. So this would be number 3 at the Enstone team. It would be interesting to see whether he could take that team further than perhaps Ricciardo might have done. I'm just not sure. And also, bear in mind, Alonso is known for taking cars that aren't quite up to scratch a lot further from where they should be. Take, say, the 2012 Ferrari, which really shouldn't have been a championship contender, yet Alonso took it to the last round against Sebastian Vettel. That was incredible. So he's got a history of taking underperforming cars and working miracles with them. And I think for a couple of years, while Renault kind of mature their junior lineup, Alonso could be a really good bet for them. It's just whether he would want to come back and race in the midfield again. I feel that's part of the reason why he left in the first place. But at the same time, I can't see Alonso getting a seat any of the top teams anytime soon, so perhaps Renault is his best or only option. That's just my thoughts anyway. Let me know in the comments below what you think. But those are just my thoughts then. Let me know down in the comments below what your reaction is to this news. Are you happy with Ricciardo's move from Renault to McLaren? Are you happy with Sainz's move from McLaren to Ferrari? Let me know. And of course, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and of course, subscribe to the channel as well. That's all from me today then. Have a lovely rest of your week, and I will see you in the next one.